So it's basically a first course of NCERT course of complex number. We'll see the motivation behind complex number first. So let's start with the motivation. Let's say if we have 2 into 2, so we get 4 as an answer. What exactly it means? Here if I ask 2 apple into 2, that gives 4 apple. What if I ask you a question 2 apple into 2 apple? So maybe you are tempted to tell it's 4 apple square, which clearly makes less sense to it, right? So it doesn't make much sense to define like this. It doesn't make much sense for it. So clearly we can see, like when we look upon 2 apple as an object, and this 2 is looked from the perspective of an operator, then it makes sense, like an object operates on an operator and into is just an operation, right, to give 4a as a result. So if we have anything into 2, so we have got anything into 2, it's basically get magnified twice. So in that sense, somewhere 2 works as an operator. Similarly, what is minus 1? Okay, so again, if you look from an operator perspective, so if we have 2 into minus 1, it's basically we are getting minus 2. So you have 2 object and you multiply with an operator which is minus 1, it gives you minus 2. So on number line, if we have something over here and that gets multiplied with minus 1, it transports you exactly to the other direction, to the image, right? This is kind of you and your image. So this is exactly minus 1 is doing, right? So it's basically rotating. It's a rotation by pi amount in anti-clockwise sense. So minus 1 as an operator represents how much an object is rotated by 180 degree in anti-clockwise sense. Okay, let's ask a similar question. If you have 3 into minus 1, it's basically 3 rotated by 180 degree in anti-clockwise sense, and so on and so forth. What if we have minus 1 into minus 1? So again, if I look upon minus 1 as an object and other minus 1 as an operator, so it's basically now you are taking minus 1 and this object is rotated again in the anti-clockwise sense by 180 degree. So where exactly will go? We'll end up at 1. So this feeling of rotation by 180 degree or rotation by pi angle in anti-clockwise sense, which is positive angle, is something which is inherent when you multiply some object with minus 1. Let's pause for a moment and think, what if I rotate, instead of a seamless movement from 1 to minus 1. So let's pause for a moment and think, what instead of a seamless movement from 1 to minus 1, what if I have a stoppage here? Okay, what I mean, let's suppose we have a stoppage in between 1 and minus 1, and let me define k as an operator. I'm using my name Kunal, but you can use any operator. So what does k? So by definition, I'm defining k as an operator which will take up an object on x-axis and it will rotate by 90 degree. So if this is 1, so at the first step your status will be 1k. Again, you'll take that object 1k and you have to multiply it by k further, because again that object is rotated by 90 degree anti-clockwise sense. So we have 1k into 1k, and finally we'll end up at minus 1. So by definition, if I define an operator, k operator like this, we are tempted to tell like 1k square is basically minus 1, which is k square as minus 1, which has got a very practical and physical meaning. So now I know like how we are defining k. if I define k as an operator which rotates you in anti-clockwise sense by 90 degrees, so k square is an operator which basically rotates you by 180 degrees, so k square behaves same like minus. What if instead of one stoppage you have two stoppages? What if someone tell instead of stopping at one moment, I stop at, let's say, 1, 2, 3 stoppages. So let's say I have m as an operator, so you rotate it, so you got to 1m, rotate further with an angle, you have m square, rotate further, you have m cube, and then m4, right? So now with respect to O, we have a stoppage 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in 4 stoppage, you are coming to -1. So now this operator m will have a property m to the power 4 equal to -1, right? And which can be thought like this as well, because m square is same as k, because m square is fundamentally rotation by 90 degree. And by definition, we have defined k to be rotation by 90 degrees, m square becomes k. So like this, we can continue our stoppage as many times I want in the movement from 1 to -1. So let's say if you want to stop at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a stoppage between 1 to -1. Let's call that as some again j. So it will be 1j, so it's j square, j cube, j4, j5, and j6. So we tempted to define j6 as -1. And clearly j cube now behaves like our k square, right? And j6 is same as m4. So you can keep on creating this definition. Now the point is like, is this of any relevance when we start creating definitions like this? The answer is of course yes. Because when we think an operator as -1, 2, or 3, or 4, or any real number, it's basically taking inputs from the real number. So let's say if I take 3 into any operator, let's say -1. So you're taking a number 3 and -1 operates on it and throws you completely on the negative direction. If I pick up 3 and that is operated with 2, so 3 into 2, you take 3 and that is thrown at a scaled up to the end of 0.6. You take 3 and take 3 as number and 3 as an operator, so we'll go somewhere around 9. You take 4, so this 3 now becomes 12. So it gets transformed. But in this transformation, one exciting thing is like you are still in the same world. So you are still in one dimension world, right? So now the bigger question is, when I use transformation like rotation in discrete step, not through 180 degree, but if I want to have an stoppage somewhere in between, it's a way to generate 2D out of 1D, right? So using inputs as one-dimensional objects, I'm trying to develop an operator which eats 1D objects, which eats real number on the x-axis and rotates it on any random angle. So it's basically a new creation of a new dimension, right? It's fundamentally a creation of a new dimension which is happening over here. And that's the beauty and motivation behind complex number. So since neither this m, j, k are the standard symbols and like a standard nomenclature which is used in mathematics is for a single stoppage from 1 to -1, we define a symbol called I, which will take a number which is rotated by 90 degree. By definition, I have chosen it to be such, and then again if we'll take that number rotate further by 90 degrees, so by definition it's I and I, so that will become I square is -1. So I could have defined any number, I could have chosen any number of stoppages as my definition. Beautifully what's happening is picking up 1D and enlightening us to go to another dimensions. So it's a way to create an entire new dimensions. So now for every number on the x-axis which is there, we can always create a new directions to this. Okay. So in a way it's creating the entire 2D plane. So if I was dealing just with 1D objects on the x-axis, I was limited to my dimensional feel of the world. I was in 1D world, so it was my consciousness was limited to 1D. The moment I introduced the rotation concept with a stoppage in between 1 and -1, I could harness more information of the world around me, and it was fundamentally I got a new directions and new wings to my number system, and now we have created a 2D universe out of it. The definition is so cosmetic but so fundamental that even you can extend this definition to a third dimension as well. You might ask the question, what if instead of going to just xy plane, what if I want to move to xz plane? So clearly you can come with some more symbols. In fact, any numbers on real number line can be represented as, let's say, x, where x can take up any values from the box 1, 2, 3, pi, into by 7, -1, 0, whatever. And an operator I creates that two-dimensional field, because when these number operates with I or some fractions of I or root or I, so it gives you different number of stoppages. Every stoppage indicates some directions. So you can create as many directions as you want, right? So from 1D, you're trying to connect the two-dimensional world. So of course, it's no wonder someone can think of connecting a new axis like z direction. Okay, for the sake of pictures, I'm telling this as z direction. So it's a new plane. We have x direction, y direction, and z direction. So as it magically someone takes x, he multiplies with I. So xi basically by definition it will denote that's completely new direction perpendicular to that. And then you take xi and multiply further with maybe some j, let's say xij, which you call that any number on y-axis multiplied with j will give a new direction on z-axis. And then you can even in fact make a collection of these three ordered pair, which is nothing more than telling it's xi cap plus yj cap plus zk cap in the language of vector algebra. Or you can think of an ordered triplet of xyg kept in a complex in a matrix fashion. So the point is very clear, like all these definitions might feel cosmetic, but it has very realness installed in it. Okay. So I hope with this motivation, we are ready to set up and go our. And now I'm sure with this motivation, you have a feel of what exactly this iota can do for us. Okay, instead of just forcefully satisfying it the NCRT way where x square plus 1 0 motivation was not that natural.